What's going on, everybody? In today's video, I'm going to try to compress exactly what a lean bulk is, how to lean bulk, what I recommend, all that kind of stuff into one concise video. Hopefully it won't be too long, but obviously there's some key points I want to make. We're gonna break it down into 7 easy steps. As the summer comes to an end, a lot of people are ending their cut, looking to bulk up this winter, add some muscle, add some mass. I know I am. So first things first, step number 1, are you in a good place to lean bulk? I think if you're a male and you're below, let's throw a number at it, 15 to 16% body fat, and for females, if you're below 21 to 22% body fat, you're probably in a pretty good place to start. You have some room to add some weight to your frame without necessarily looking overweight or obese or anything like that. I myself got down to the single digits on my cut, and now I'm closer to the probably 11, 12 mark, and I'm pretty comfortable with where I'm at. I'm definitely okay with adding on some body fat throughout this lean bulk. I'd estimate that you'll probably add on about 5% body fat throughout the entire lean bulk if you do it right. If you're sitting at the 15, 60% mark, if you're comfortable with going to 20, 21 as a guy, or females 21, 22 going to 26, 27%, you're more than ready to enter a lean bulk. However, if you do have a little bit extra fat, I might recommend continuing a cutting phase or entering a cutting phase before you do lean bulk. Otherwise, if you're comfortable with adding on a little bit of extra weight, a little bit of extra fat here and there, go for it. Otherwise, I'd say a nice start would be a lower body fat percentage. A very specific case that I personally had when I first started was a skinny fat, where I didn't really have any muscle, but I was still somewhat overweight, or I had kind of like a belly but no muscle. I'd say definitely lean bulk out of that. At that point, your metabolism or your BMR is so low that you'd have to be at like 1,000, 1,500 calories to even lose that body fat. So you wanna add mass and add muscle. So when you do cut, it's a lot easier. So that's what I'd recommend. Otherwise, let's head to step 2. Now that you've decided to lean bulk, first thing you have to do is calculate your calories or your maintenance calories. I've talked about this in a lot of videos before, but the best thing you can do is probably go online to a TDEE calculator or total daily energy expenditure calculator. This was not going to be 100% accurate, but it's going to be a great way to find a baseline. It'll ask you your age, height, weight, activity level. The more information you put in, the more accurate the output is going to be. But find a calculator that asks you a lot of information so the output is more accurate, and set that as your maintenance. So there are 2 options. From there, you can either eat at that given calorie mark for 1 to 2 weeks, monitor your weight and make sure that's your maintenance, or you can go straight into your calorie surplus or your lean bulk, and I'd say add about 100 to 300 calories depending on your experience level. A lot of people will throw a rough number of just 500 calories at you. I think that is way too much. That is more than you need to build muscle, and a lot of those 500 calories will go on to adding body fat rather than lean body mass or muscle that we want to build. So I'd say 100 to 300, 300 being the 1 to 2 years of training experience, the newbies that have the potential to add a lot more muscle, and the 100 being in the 10 to 12 years of experience, training a lot, very close to their potential limit. I'd say I'm in the middle somewhere. I've been training for about 5 to 6 years. I'm gonna start around 200 to 250 calories, make sure I'm gaining weight at a good pace. A good pace of weight gain is gonna be about 1% of your body weight per month. Anything more than that, you'll probably be adding a little bit too much fat. Anything less than that, you probably won't be maximizing your muscle building potential. So for me, I'm about 165 pounds right now. I'm gonna be aiming to add 1.6 to 1.7 pounds per month, because for me, that's around 1% of my body weight. If your weight gain is below the 1% body fat per month or above the 1% body fat per month, then I'll have you change your maintenance calories, and then that will in turn change your surplus. If you are losing weight or not gaining weight, you definitely want to up your calories and make sure you are actually in a surplus. If you're gaining 5 pounds a month, I'd say that's probably a little bit too high unless you're a brand new newbie who's getting all those gains right away, or you're juicing. Otherwise, I'd make sure to stick around the 1% body weight increase per month. Once you have your total calories determined, or your net surplus of about 100 to 300 calories, we're gonna take those calories and break them up into our macronutrients. This is gonna include protein, carbs, and fats. As far as protein goes, I think every influencer, every nutritionist would say the same thing. You want about 0.8 to 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So example, for me at 160 pounds, I want about 160 grams of protein, or just under that. On a lean bulk, especially when you want to be building muscle, you wanna make sure you're hitting your protein goals each day. Calories can kind of average out throughout the week, but you want to hit your protein goals each and every day to make sure your body has those nutrients to recover, rebuild your muscle, and grow. More often than not, you're definitely gonna be fine hitting your protein goal on a lean bulk. Just as you increase your calories, your protein will probably automatically go up. I just want you guys to realize that as your calories go up, your protein will probably naturally go up, and you're gonna think, oh, I'm hitting 200 grams of protein a day with ease, eating at 3,000 calories. A lot of those grams of protein will be coming from trace amounts in your carbs. So every kind of bread, tortilla, bagel, anything like that will have some protein in it, but it's not really a true complete protein source. If anything, you wanna make sure you have your lean meats, fish, whey proteins are a great option, eggs, anything like that, to make sure that those are complete proteins in your diet rather than just eating a bunch of carbs and getting small bits of protein from each of those. The next thing I would say, if you do want to go beyond just protein and calories, is to make sure your fat is in reason. I personally like to go with a 0.5 grams per pound of body weight. So for me at 160 pounds, quick math, that's 80 grams of fat. So as a whole, I think that's a very good number. It definitely isn't too high, it's not too low. It doesn't necessarily impact my training so much. I personally do better on carb sources, although some people do swear by keto or swear by low carb. Personally, it's what works best for me, and I think you guys should probably experiment with that ratio of fat and carbs. Breaking down the macronutrients real quick, protein, 0.8 or 1 gram per pound of body weight. Fats, I'd say maybe even low end, 0.4 to 0.5 grams per pound of body weight, and then fill the rest up with carbs to reach your total calorie amount to make sure you're gaining weight or in that small surplus. The one reason I would bring up my fats above the 0.5 grams per pound of body weight if I was struggling to hit my calorie mark for whatever reason, fats are very calorie dense, so a small amount contains a lot of calories. If you're struggling to hit your calorie mark, I do recommend implementing some fats, and you can do that through oils, nuts. Trail mix is probably one of my go-tos when I'm really struggling to add weight. Peanut butter, almond butter, fatty fish like salmon, using butters when you cook, all that kind of stuff are easy ways to get calories in if you are struggling. One thing I do want to mention is a lot of people recommend the if it fits your macros approach, and I love this. This is the way I eat. I definitely do not have a strict meal plan. I eat if it fits my macros. But don't fill up all your macros with Pop-Tarts and pizza, because yes, you can actually do that. If you find a super high protein pizza, you can literally eat 2 or 3 pizzas a day and hit your macros, but we wanna make sure that our macros also have micros in them, or we have a lot of whole foods. We wanna make sure we're a healthy person, because a healthy person will perform the best and allow the maximum amount of muscle to grow. So we wanna make sure we have our 2 to 3 servings of fruits and vegetables. Most of our calories are coming from whole foods. But then yes, of course, indulge in a pizza and Pop-Tart every once in a while, but 80% should be whole foods and 20% should be foods you love. Now we've covered the nutrition part of the lean bulk, it's time to go into the training, where I personally love and enjoy being in the gym. So for a lot of people, this will vary depending on your experience levels, but at the very base, we wanna make sure we are including resistance training in our lean bulk program. This is where you're going to break down your muscle, and then all the food you have, your proteins, carbs, and fats, are going to rebuild that muscle and fuel your body to build muscle and put on lean weight. I think that your workouts during a lean bulk are even more important than when you're on a cut. On your cut, you're trying to lose weight, burn body fat. On a lean bulk, you're truly trying to break down your muscle and demand your muscles to grow. So you need to push yourself in the gym through resistance training, heavy weights, different rep ranges, all that good stuff. But real quick, I'm gonna be super general with this, explaining a few different splits, and I'll specifically go into what I'm doing. First thing we'll cover is frequency, or how often you wanna train a muscle group. In recent literature, 2 to 3 times a week per muscle group has given the best results. Although 3 times a week is a little bit unreasonable, that's gonna be a lot of time in the gym doing a upper, lower, upper, lower, upper, lower split, something like that. I personally stick to 2 times a week. I think most people would also recommend sticking to 2 times a week. It is doable on just about any schedule, and you'll get the most gains at the 2 times per week per muscle group frequency. And then within that 2 to 3 times a week, how many times or how many sets should you be doing per muscle group? I think 15 to 25 sets per muscle group per week is a really good range to be in. There's evidence that if you're too low in like the 6 to 8 sets per week, you're probably not doing enough, but there doesn't seem to be a maximum either. I'm sure there is burnout maybe at 30 to 40 sets per week. You really want to be at a frequency that will let your body recover from the training, I think most people fall into 15 to 25 sets, working sets though, not your warm-ups, per muscle group per week, and that can be split up in 2 because you will be hitting each muscle group twice per week. Depending on how many times you're training per week, your split's gonna vary. Real quick, I'll go through essentially any split I can imagine. So if you can only make it to the gym twice a week, I'd probably recommend 2 full body days. If you can go 3 times a week, I'd do upper, lower, full body. If you can go 4 times a week, I'd go upper, lower, upper, lower. I think 3 to 4 is gonna be the biggest jump. We'll notice the most difference, and that's the greatest impact. 4 to 5, a little bit less, 5 to 6, a little bit less. But at 5 days a week, I'd probably do push, pull, legs, upper, lower. And 6 days a week, I'd probably do push, pull, legs, or what I'm doing specifically, push, pull, legs, arms and shoulders, chest and back, then legs. So it's like a push, pull, legs with an Arnold split, the Arnold split being the chest and back, shoulders, arms, legs split. As we talked about frequency a second ago, as well as the working sets we should be doing, the rep range is also something that's been very debated over the years. A lot of people think in order to build the most muscle, you want to be in the hypertrophy rep range, and everyone says 8 to 12, right? You hear 8 to 12, maybe 8 to 15, but realistically, the muscle building rep range is probably a lot bigger than 8 to 12 reps. It probably gets down to as low as 5 and almost up to like 18, 20 reps. So something in that range is a good thing to stick to. I personally like to keep my compounds in the 5 or 6 to 10 rep range, while my accessory movements will be 8 to 15. This really depends on your personal preference, but I think the biggest thing will be finding some sort of middle range that works for you, keeps you pushing yourself, and that moves us into step number 5. Step number 5 is going to be progressive overload, or essentially, how are you going to continue to build muscle throughout this entire lean bulking process? There are a few different methods, such as daily undulating periodization, linear progression, a few different options. Personally, the one I'm going to cover in this video, you can look up the others if you want, is double periodization, or essentially adding reps and then adding weight, adding reps, then adding weight. What this is going to look like is, let's take a very basic example. You have your squat. And I say I want to work in the 6 to 8 rep range of my squat, which I personally do, and make sure I'm making progress or progressively overloading that movement. For example, real quick, we'll do something very basic. We're going to take 300 pounds on our squat and perform 4 sets of 6 reps, because we want to be in that 6 to 8 rep range. Once I've gone through that workout, I completed 4 sets of 6 reps at 300 pounds. The next week, since I have my 6 to 8 rep range, I want to push to 7 reps. So maybe next week I get 7 reps, 7 reps, 6 reps, 6 reps at 300 pounds. Say, okay, I made some progress. I added 2 reps. The following week, I go 7 reps across all 4 sets at 300 pounds. The next week, I have even better. I ate enough, I slept enough, I recovered enough. I hit 4 sets of 8 reps at 300 pounds. Now I'm in the top of my rep range, and I want to move my reps back, but increase my weight. So after I hit 300 pounds for 4 sets of 8 reps, I'm going to increase my weight to, let's say, 310 pounds, something like that, and bring my reps back down to 6 and restart that progression. After I reach the top of a rep range, I bump the weight up and bring my reps down. And I'm going to continue that cycle pretty much the entire lean bulk. The amount of weight I add might change. It might start at 10 pounds, go down to 5, maybe even 2.5, some micro loading. And this is the same for my accessory lifts as well. Sometimes the progression I don't track as closely as my main compounds, my squat, bench, deadlift, overhead press, dumbbell presses, that kind of thing. But my accessories, I still want to make sure I'm making progress or pushing myself. My rep range will probably be bigger, 15 to 20 reps. I want to make sure I'm still moving down the stack or adding that little 5-pound bonus weight on there every 2 to 3 weeks. Make sure I'm really pushing myself, keeping things hard, and making sure my body has to break down my muscle in order for it to grow. Along with progressive overload, we want to make sure we're training with a high intensity. So part of that progressive overload is going to be maybe changing up your tempos. You could add some longer negatives. You could slow up the concentric portion. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that you're training hard enough to elicit some sort of muscle breakdown to then have your muscles grow back stronger. I personally like to add band work every once in a while, add a resistance band to change up the strength curve. There are lots of different ways to do it, but I think the most basic way is the double periodization, where you're adding reps, then adding weight within a rep range. Personally, it's what I've been using for a long time, and it's been paying off pretty well. Keeps things simple, not overcomplicating it, but lets me push myself in the gym and see progress on my main compounds. And real quick, I am doing the 6 days a week split with the push-pull legs Arnold split. Quickly, I'll go over exactly what that looks like on Excel with you guys right now. Really quickly, I'll go over my current split. This is very specific to me and my goals and my equipment in my home garage gym. So you can definitely take some ideas from this, but I definitely would write your own program. But the main things are gonna be, it is a push-pull legs Arnold split, as I mentioned before. The order is slightly different. I have pull, push, legs, shoulders and arms, chest and back, legs again. As a whole, once again, this is very specific to me, my equipment, and my needs, and my higher volume of training, but we'll go through because you might get some benefit out of it. First things first, on our pull day, I like to start with some compound movements, a vertical pull in the weighted pull-ups, a horizontal pull in the pronated barbell rows, then we go back to a vertical pull, another horizontal pull, and then some accessories along with some biceps. As you can see with the reps, we have a rep range. We're using double progression or increasing reps in that rep range. And then when we're at the top of that rep range, we're going to increase the weight and drop the reps to the bottom of the rep range. RPE scale, I do use it a little bit, but more or less just there to make sure I'm training hard enough and close to failure on my accessories. And then I have a column to track my weights. Rest times, I don't really track my rest times as in timing myself in between sets, but I definitely rest a little bit more on my compounds and rest a little bit less on my accessories, as you can see there. Next, we've got our push day. Once again, compound movements to start, focusing on chest, because I want my chest to grow the most. So first 3 exercises are chest dominant. Then I have some shoulders and some triceps. Leg day, we've got back squat, Romanian deadlifts, and hip thrusts as our compounds, followed with some accessories. And this monkey feet, this is an example of, this is what I have in my gym. It is essentially attachment for my foot to allow me to do leg extensions, leg curls, that kind of thing. Most gyms probably have a leg extension machine you can use. Then we'll go to our shoulders and arm day. This is pretty basic as far as a workout goes. I'm going shoulders, biceps, triceps, shoulders, biceps, triceps, 3 times in a row with 3 different exercises per muscle group. All 3 sets. You can see the varying rep ranges and RPE scale there. Chest and back, this is definitely heavier on my compound movements. We've got some pull-ups for our vertical pull, then we've got some horizontal pushing movements in our bench press. And then last thing, our last leg day, we've got some deadlifts, front squat, Bulgarian split squats as our compounds. And then we move into, once again, some accessories, including the monkey feet attachment. Once again, this is very specific to me, my goals, and my equipment availability. If you're at a gym, you probably don't have monkey feet or even need them. They're probably machines you can use. But I just want to go over, you guys can obviously screenshot this program if you want to give it a try, but I think the best thing would do to just take some ideas from this, not exactly this exact program, because this is very tailored to me, my equipment, and my goals. Next thing we'll go into are the kind of miscellaneous things such as cardio, supplements, sleep, lifestyle things. As far as cardio goes, I think it's a great idea to stay in shape as you're in your lean bulk. Obviously, if you're really struggling to add weight because you're doing an hour of cardio every day, maybe take that hour down to 20 minutes a day. You don't need to be doing crazy amounts of cardio to burn calories if you can't eat them back. Obviously, if you're a cross trainer or endurance athlete and you can eat the calories to continue to gain weight, hell yeah, go for it, good for you. Unfortunately, I'm not the same way. My stomach definitely has a limit. I can't be doing too much cardio, but just because you can't see your heart doesn't mean you shouldn't train it. It's probably the most important muscle in your body, so you want to make sure that is always healthy. Another thing, this will carry over to your resistance training. For example, if you're squatting and you're exhausted or fatigued by rep 4 or 5, as in you can't breathe, you're tired, you're out of breath, that's not true muscle failure. That's endurance failure, or that's cardiovascular failure. In the gym, we want to reach muscular failure. If you can't even get to muscular failure because your cardiovascular system gives out first, that's a problem. You should definitely add some cardio into your routine. You should never have cardio be the reason your resistance training stops early. As far as supplements go, I personally don't really use many. I use creatine monohydrate, which I highly recommend. There are a million studies about this, probably the most studied supplement out there. Although some people do get bloated on it, and if you are one of those people, experiment with it. If it goes to your face, your gut, makes your stomach upset, definitely don't use it. You don't need it, but it can help a little bit. I've been using 5 grams a day for probably 3 years now. If you've never used it before, it's recommended that you do a loading period, or basically get your body full of creatine and then you go into a maintenance phase. So if you've never taken it before, I recommend taking 20 grams or probably 4 scoops, because each scoop's gonna be 5 grams, for 2 weeks, and then go to 5 grams per day. Other than creatine, the only other real supplement I take is a multivitamin each day, just a basic men's multivitamin, nothing crazy, just to help with my micronutrients. Even though I do focus on my micronutrients on my nutrition side, I think a multivitamin is something that everyone can benefit from. And then outside of creatine and my multivitamin, every once in a while, I'll use some caffeine sources such as an energy drink or some pre-workout. And then I'll also use some protein powder or protein bar. If I'm in a hurry and can't make a meal, I will supplement with a protein bar or protein powder to make sure I'm hitting my protein goals for the day. Otherwise, if you have the money, invest in whatever supplements you want. Just do your own research. But just realize that supplements are there to increase your performance from a baseline. So if you're not doing everything else we talked about before in steps 1 through 5, step 6 of supplements doesn't really matter. If you're not working hard and training hard in the gym, you don't need that protein powder to help you rebuild your muscle. Make sure you're prioritizing your nutrition, your calories, total protein, train hard in the gym, and then supplements can be added on to give you a slight bonus. Biggest thing, just get your sleep, 7 to 8 hours a night, your body will thank you. Then step 7, just like step 7 in our how to cut video or our 90-day cut transformation, it is to be consistent. And it is even more important on a lean bulk to be consistent than it is on a cut. A cut, you'll see results 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 month, 2 months. In a lean bulk, it is going to be a long process. And the longer it takes, the more successful it's probably gonna be, because that means you didn't gain as much fat and you have more time and a surplus to build muscle. So you wanna be patient. I am planning on doing at least a 9-month lean bulk. Yes, I incorporate mini cuts here and there just to keep my body fat around where I want it to be. After the holidays, I do a quick mini cut for the new year. Around my birthday or the holidays, I do another mini cut. But for the long term, you want to be in a surplus building muscle for as long as you can, especially as a newbie or someone in their first 2 to 4 years of their training phase. I really wish I would have done a longer lean bulk when I started. That is the #1 thing I wish I would have done, is lean bulked for longer. But of course, with college, spring breaks, summers, you want to be shredded because you're around people, you want to be able to take your shirt off all the time. And at the end of the day, it is what it is, but I wish I would have at least lean bulk for 1 summer. Who knows, maybe it's this coming summer. But realize it takes so much more energy and time to build muscle than it does to burn fat. It's probably one of the hardest things to do. You really need to take your time with it, focus on your training, nutrition, and push yourself every day in the gym. Along with being patient, you want to be consistent. You can't just hit your protein goal once or twice a week. You can't have your calories fluctuating up and down, 1 week in a surplus, next week in a deficit. You truly need to commit and be consistent to your lean bulk and your surplus in order to see results. It's kind of like the opposite of cutting, as in like the longer you cut, the leaner you get, the better you look. On a lean bulk, more than likely, the longer you do it, the worse you're gonna look, unfortunately. And it's gonna take you a long time to build that muscle, and then you have to cut down to reveal it. But trust me, it is worth it. The process might be long, it might be tedious, but enjoy your surplus, which lets you eat food, get away with drinking a little bit more, whatever that might be, to enjoy life on your lean bulk, because those cuts are definitely tough. They're restrictive, and a lean bulk should be a little bit more freeing in the sense that you can eat more or eat a variety of foods, but you still have to be training and be consistent across the board to make sure you're maximizing your gains. Last little word of caution is the scale can be misleading, or the scale can lie to you. I know a lot of people like to step on the scale, see their weight going up, and immediately think, yes, I'm making progress, I'm building muscle in my lean bulk. But the weight is just one single number. You could be getting fat and the scale is gonna say it's going up, and you might interpret that as I'm gaining good weight or good muscle mass, when in reality you're just getting fatter. I think look at the scale, it's very important, it's a great unit of measurement, but also look in the mirror. If you're looking in the mirror and you notice you're gaining a little bit too much weight, whether it's around your midsection, in your face, whatever it is, and you're like, dang, I thought I was putting on muscle, but I look just like I'm getting fatter. Make sure you're using more than just the scale to judge your progress. Use progressive overload. Use how your training is going. Use your compound movements if you're adding weight on there, if you're making progressions in the gym. Look at the mirror. Do you feel better? Do you feel stronger? Do you feel filled out? The scale will lie to you. Do not just go by the scale. At the end of the day, the goal is to build lean muscle or add muscle mass. Yes, you might add a little bit of fat, but you want to make sure everything else is in check, so when that scale goes up, it truly is lean muscle mass, not just fat. Otherwise, you want to be consistent, you want to be patient. It will take time, but it will pay off in the end. I promise you. I'm on this journey with you guys. The summer's over, the cut's over, we got lean. Now it's time to add size and mass. Just like the how to cut video, this is nowhere near the entire lean bulking process. I'll definitely have some videos coming out along my journey, maybe a month in, 2 month in check-ins about my lean bulk, how it's going. One thing I didn't really mention is if you do plateau in your weight gain, just add calories. It's pretty basic. If you are gaining weight and then you all of a sudden stop and your progress in the gym stops, then add some calories. Same process as cutting. When you plateau going down, you decrease calories. As you plateau going up, you increase calories as well. Otherwise, a super basic intro to a lean bulk. If you guys have any questions, drop them in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer those. Maybe I'll make a whole other video about a specific topic. Other than that, I think I'll end it here. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Like I said, comments down below with any questions. Hopefully I can help you guys on your lean bulking journey and join me on mine. Otherwise, don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.